Tom Lane, DM2 Software's Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I would like to welcome everyone to today's Sage Inventory Advisor webinar. Before I introduce today's presenters, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Because of the number of attendees we have on today's webinar, everyone's phones will stay on mute. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them into the question window you see in the lower right of your screen. We'll try to answer everyone's questions at the end of the webinar. If we're unable to get to everyone's questions, we'll follow up with each of you individually after the webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. As soon as the recording is available, we'll post it on to our customer content page of our website and send you an email to let you know when it's available to be downloaded. On that note, I'd like to introduce today's presenters. We have Fadi Abu-Ghali. He is the product manager at Sage Software for the Sage Inventory Advisor product. Joining Fadi is Grant Emery. He is a product specialist for the Sage Inventory Advisor product. And then we have a special guest today. We've got Les Johnson. Les is the controller of Hubert Glass Oil, and they were an early adopter of Sage Inventory Advisor and been using it now for about a year. So Les is going to share some of his firsthand experience with the product. On that note, I'll turn it over to you, gentlemen. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name is Fadi Abu-Ghali. I'm with Sage Software. Wanted to quickly go over the overall objective. I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible because I believe you could learn a lot from what Les has to say and then also from the demo that Grant is going to be given, and a little shorter. But so I will reduce my time so in order for the gentleman to be able to speak to the experience itself and then answer any questions. With that, pretty much our overall objective is to introduce you to Sage Inventory Advisor, which we believe is a very powerful solution that can deliver and has delivered in many instances on the promise of reducing your excess inventory, your stockouts, your working capital, and you'll hear that firsthand from our guest today. You can also improve your fill rates and your forecasting. So really, overall, this is a great solution that can help you in many ways if you carry inventory in your business. Our agenda today is pretty much to go over some of the customer concerns, or in other words, how did we get to launch this solution? You know, what made us, what ticked, and what made us really want to launch this solution. Quickly, we'll show you how it works. I'll hand it over to Les, who will be talking firsthand about his experience. So I think it's a great opportunity for you to hear from your peers. Grant will then, after Les, will show you a brief demo and show you how the system works and how easy it is. We'll go over quickly the pricing and, if needed, the implementation, but hopefully maybe Les will answer most of your questions. And then last but not least, we'll just conclude with the benefits of what we believe the Inventory Advisor, Sage Inventory Advisor can deliver, and then we'll open it. We'll leave enough time for you to ask questions to the panel. So with that, you know, as part of the thing that we went about before we developed or looked at this product is to really talk to customers. And one of the things we talk to customers, a simple question, informally asking them, you know, what keeps you awake at night? What are some of the concerns that you have? And in particular, we talk to customers who dealt with inventory, who dealt with purchasing and forecasting type of business. And the number one concern came back and they said, you know, we worry about stockouts. 42% of our respondents said stockouts is a big problem for us. It's something that we usually worry about because we don't have the stock at hand. We lose the sale. You know, customers are not happy. They go down the street, buy from our competitors. So as you can see, you know, stockouts is right up there. 37% of them came back and said, look, this is tough. These days are tough. I need some money to free up some of my working capital that I have invested in my inventory, and I need to put it into somewhere else in a better use where I can grow the business, where I can invest in those tough times and grow the business. You know, I have way too much money stuck in inventory, specifically more so in inventory that doesn't move, you know. So I need to figure out a way how to free up some of that cash. And last but not least, and you probably all been there before. 21% really spend a lot of time calculating, reordering quantities, doing all kinds of sales orders and forecasting manual tasks. And we all have a lot on our plates these days. So, the last thing you want is just another added manual task to add to your list. So with that, I started thinking, okay, well, how can I really not justify, but how can I really see if there's other people out there that did some research that really voiced the same type of concern. And interestingly, I stumbled on this third-party survey online that was done earlier this year around February timeframe. And as you can see, the simple question is, well, what are the top business priorities for your business in the next 12 months? And obviously, the top three is a no-brainer. We all are familiar. We've heard them in the past. You want to grow revenue. You want to increase profitability. And also, most importantly, you want to keep customers happy and retain them because it costs a lot of money to acquire new customers. But interestingly enough, to my surprise, the fourth one came as being the better inventory management, which kind of a little bit surprised me, but it makes sense. A lot of people worry about inventory management. It's one of the biggest, if not in some situations, the largest cost item on your balance sheet. As I got to think more and more about this, and I start looking at this graph, I realized that if you really take care of your inventory, if you really manage your inventory really tightly, you can actually take care of the other top three, and you solve them by virtue of just basically doing a better job managing your inventory. So we believe that doing a better inventory management and managing it tightly can help you grow your revenue, because then your stockouts are reduced and you have product to sell. You increase your profitability because now your customers are coming and new customers are coming to buy from you. And it doesn't mean you charge them premium, but just because now you can command a price at no discount. And last but not least, customers are happy. They're coming back to you because you have the product. So when we started thinking about it, we thought about, okay, what kind of product do we want? And we laid out very simple rules. We said we wanted something that is sophisticated, that can do the job, but it's easy to use. This is something we don't want to really encumber the customer, speaking from experience with other type of software. We wanted something new, something that's different from what's out there in the marketplace. We wanted it to be up and running in very little time, and we know how long some of the ERP implementation projects take. So we just wanted something that we can easily turn on and then train the user relatively quickly. And last but not least, we decided we wanted to get something that can get the job done in a fraction of the time that it takes to do all these manual tasks. And with that, really, we found no better solution than the cloud solution that today is an Inventory Advisor we're talking about today. So what does Sage Inventory Advisor do? Sage Inventory Advisor is really a cloud solution that's designed primarily on the premise of two thoughts or two ideas. And the first one is, as an inventory manager, when you come into the office every day, you want to think about what you need to pay attention to today. What are some of the inventory-related issues or challenges that you are facing today that you need to tackle? You don't have time to look at everything. You just want to be sure that you have the important ones bubble up to the surface so you can take care of them and move on to the next. At the same time, you also want to make sure that you have the product on hand. You want to make sure, given the lead time and the supplier performance and everything else that goes into the supply chain, you want to make sure that you have the right orders placed at the right time, because you want to ensure that you have the product in your warehouses when it's supposed to be in there. So with that, what Sage Inventory Advisor, based on those two pillars, or design pillars, if you will, Sage Inventory Advisor gives you that ability, because it gives you, at the end of the day, when you log in every morning, it gives you the information right there. It classifies it by importance of the product, and you'll see that in the demo. It's a powerful forecasting tool, and last but not least, it gives you the information that you need, that balance that you need to balance out the decision between how much do you want to invest and how much do you want to offer customer your service. In other words, how much do you really want to have the product available to them. So it gives you all that information to be able to make a balanced decision as to what to buy, what to invest, and when to have it. So how does it work? Again, I mentioned something about the cloud, and it's a very simple, very secure solution. Typically, what Sage Inventory Advisor does is it will connect to your ERP system over the internet, and what it does every night, it goes every night to your ERP system. It fetches or uploads all the data that it needs from your ERP, all the financial data, all the sales data, what's been sold, sales in, sales out, and what have you, and it calculates it overnight. And then when you come back in the morning, you look at it, and you'll have, when you log in, you will see an information dashboard that will put all the metrics that you need to look at. And again, we will go over that in the demo, and Grant will show you what all that information and how you can drill into that information and, start getting answers to some of the questions you may have. So it's really that simple in terms of going in, and it's all transparent, so it doesn't disrupt any of your business. It can be set up to go at night, and we have also the ability to set it up to read, if you will, or upload the data more than once. That's up to you. We'll work with you and your partner, our business partner, to do that. But just in a nutshell, the important thing to take away from this, it's really a transparent thing that will happen while you're working, doing it. It does not disrupt your business. So with that, I want to introduce, I have the pleasure to introduce Les Johnson, who is with the Hubert class. And Les, I just put this slide here for our reference in case, Les wants a little bit of a guidance. But I want to introduce him to you and then have him talk and cover a little bit of some of these questions that are here in the slide. Les?
Thank you. I appreciate it, Fadi. I am going to use the slide that Fadi has shown as the talking points, and one would start with is, what were the challenges that we at Hubert Glass Oil faced? Well, one of the bigger items that hit us is seasonal forecasting, because being in an agricultural area, we get a lot of seasonal items that we were needing to work with, and we were having to write that code up and do some programming to make it come about. And with this inventory management system, we have been able to seasonally forecast and track that better. We also do a lot in the regards to repackaging and blending. And one of the problems we had there is trying to forecast down in the repackaging to make sure that we had enough labels, we had enough pails, drums, etc. And with the inventory system, we are now able to track that down to the lowest level and determine graphically as where we need each of these items. It's also assisted us, like in the bill of materials, when we were doing it in our blending side, particularly with the fact that base oils used in various materials, we can now spread that across and know exactly based on each of our forecasts how much we're going to need of the base stocks and the various additives and et cetera. So it's been a tremendous help in that regard. And that was a big challenge. The other one that we faced that's interesting when it talks about stockouts in inventory values. Our inventory values we were looking at, and so much of it you might think you need one item and you're ordering heavier in one and short in the other. This has allowed us to really look at it as we put in the lead times and the movements to better track and maintain inventory value. It's been a tremendous help there. Why did we choose Sage Inventory Advisor? Well, back in 2012, we were looking to come up with a bolt-on or an add-on to the DM2 system to help us better track our inventory. More of a real-time looking at it and helping us forecast, helping us generate our purchase orders. I actually went to Summit, and at Summit I met Grant Emery, who you'll hear from, and he was giving his demo of the system. As I looked at it, I came back to the office, I pulled more, we did some time with them, and determined that it really did provide us what we need, and it's very, very easy, because I'm going to move into that next area. The implementation for us was immensely easy, other than the fact that the system we're on, 4.3, is ProvideX, and I had to learn some ProvideX scripts as well as SQL scripts when you write those, simply because of the version we were on. It went quickly. Within 30 days, or I can't remember, I believe we started September the 25th of that year, and we were up and running by the middle of October and testing it, and went fully live at the end of the month. It just really goes easy. The daily uploads are simplistic. We run them in the evenings. If I want, I rerun them during the day, so we can do, if we've made some major changes, we can get that new look anytime you want. It takes about 30 minutes to run. It runs deltas, so it doesn't run all the time with every bit of the data. It's really, really was an easy system. The benefits that we've achieved, I can tell you that on this particular one, we have reduced our excess inventory counts about 212 items that we did not need. And we discovered by doing this, the value of that was pretty heavy. Now, I don't have it broken exactly between those two components, but I can tell you that by reduction of our overall inventory and reducing of the excess stock that we were maintaining, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of the $275,000 to $300,000 that we've been able to pull that down and move it to a more usable stock, particularly in the going into the blending more so. Fill rates, we've improved our fill rates between 2 to 4%, and that's been a very good thing, because we can now pretty much get up into 97, 98% fill rates of all items to our customers. The forecasting, as I said, has been greatly enhanced because you are able to backload data. So we went all the way back to January of 2010 when we started loading the historical, so we could get a true flow of the seasonality of all of our products. And this has helped us a lot. And then you can adjust your forecasts going forward to say, what if I do this or this, and if I change my mixes, what does it do? The system provides us a suggested inventory ordering points by looking at lead times, safety stocks, orders outstanding, and it forecasts where you should be and what should be your order quantities. Significantly, it has helped our purchasing area. The other thing in regards to that has helped is that the system will generate by your supplier or by the product what is a suggested purchase quantity and the suggested PO, and will create that. They currently have the ability to import that back into your Sage system and create the purchase order. So with all of those things, we have really been able to utilize it extensively. We are actually in this system every day, quite a bit, and we run this in conjunction with several of the other reports that we get out of the DM2 Sage system, and has enhanced our ability to better utilize that high dollar thing called inventory. And I think with that, one of the best ways for me to see this would be to move forward. I think that Grant was going to go into actually showing it, and then any questions would be here. I'm going to be online through the system presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. So I think, Grant, you're a presenter now.
I am, thank you. Okay, great. Patty, can you see my screen?
Yes, we do. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Les, thank you very much for a very valuable introduction. If I may just elaborate a little bit on the installation. The installation has since then been improved dramatically based on the fact that we now have scripts written going back to version 4.3 on Sage 100. And as a result, we can now do the implementation in a matter of hours. So we would log onto your system, extract the information, and you'd be able to log into the system in a matter of 2 or 3 hours. And then over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, you just go through the training that we've got set up on Inventory Advisor. So in the last year, we've managed to improve dramatically on that installation time. Okay, so let's go through a quick 15, 20-minute demonstration of what the tool looks like. When we designed Inventory Advisor, we wanted to design and focus around simplicity. And as a result, we designed a system that's easy to use, intuitive, and familiar. You know, we wanted to make it familiar as if we've all used the program before. So to get there a little bit, we modeled it around the typical web page. You know that on web pages, you've got these tabs at the top of the screen that talk about the company, the products we sell, contact us, etc. And so we've got 6 or 7 tabs at the top of the screen from which the entire system is managed. So there are no menus or sub-menus that one can sometimes get lost in. Now, the dashboard that you're looking at here is the landing page. It's the first page you see when you log into the system. And the dashboard deals primarily with the first question that Fadi was talking about in one of his previous slides, and that is, which items need my attention today? So the dashboard is found by hovering over the dashboard tab and selecting the location that you wish to look at. In this case, I've got a central warehouse set up with 3 branches that are supported by the central warehouse, and I've got a virtual location that gives me a total sum of the company. So whether you've got multiple locations or whether you've even got 2 companies on the same server, we can combine those into a single instance of Inventory Advisor. So in this case, I'm going to select the Los Angeles location, and that gives me the dashboard for Los Angeles. Now, the dashboard is primarily, there are 2 regions of it. The first are the KPI graphs. These give you an overall perspective of that particular warehouse. The first 2 graphs deal with the challenge of inventory management, which is how do I optimize my inventory, which typically involves reducing it, while maintaining the fill rate. So Les has mentioned that he has dropped his inventory about $270,000 to $300,000, and he's managed to increase his fill rate by a few percentages points to get up to a 96, 97, 98% target fill rate. And so each one of these bars represents a daily measurement, with the red bar representing the most current or last night's measurement. So you get a good idea of how well we are trending. The next 4 graphs deal with what needs my attention. So I can see my excess stock, I can see my order pipeline and which one of those orders are in surplus, so maybe I can cancel or delay the order. I can see how well we are trending in terms of our stocked out items, and then finally those items where I currently do have a bit of inventory, but it looks like I'm going to, potentially I'm going to run out of stock of these because of a lead time or a forecast change since I last placed an order. Now, when I look at the stocked out graph, for example, I see that there are 940 items that are in stock out, and I'm losing sales to the value of $700,000. That list, that number of items, I can almost cringe at it and sort of say, well, I don't even know where to start when I've got 941 items. So what we did is we ranked those items in descending order of lost sales value in this case, and we display the top 5 on these lists that you see below the graphs. So here we've got the top 5 stock out items. To the left we've got the top 5 surplus order items, and to the right we've got the top 5 potential stock out items. So, and what's quite interesting when you look at these top 5, even though this is only demonstration data, it's very often we see this in customers' data. If by just adding the lost sales for the top 5, we see that that number represents 25 to 30% of the total problem. So what I'm saying is by just managing and just resolving the top 5 in the list often contributes tremendously towards the total problem. And so if we, with discipline and on a daily basis, just continually manage these top 5 items in each of the categories, and we identify why they're on the list. so that we can take the appropriate action to remove them off the list, then we're going a long way towards having these graphs reduced towards zero. And those items may be on the list for various reasons. Maybe a lead time is wrong. Maybe a forecast is wrong. Maybe we haven't closed a purchase order properly. We need to be able to drill into the item, understand why it's on the list, and take the necessary action to remove it. Now, you'll notice that besides some of the item codes, there's a little comment bubble. So if I've got multiple users, I can capture a note, and so all the users can be made aware of any action that I'm taking on that item code. In addition to that, you'll notice there are little colored blocks beside each of the items. Betty mentioned product importance on that one slide. One of the inputs was being able to determine whether a product is important to the business or not. And I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom of the screen to talk a little bit about that, about the matrix. When we analyze the items, we do it in two ways. First, we look at your sales contribution and we analyze it based on the value of sales contribution, which gives us an ABC classification. We use a typical Pareto breakdown where we say your A items represent the top 80% of that value of movement. The B's and C's, the remaining 20. That means that A's are much more important than B's, and B's are much more important than C's. The second analysis we do is based purely on the quantity of movement. And again, we use a similar Pareto breakdown where we say the high items represent the top 80% of the quantity of movement, and thus we have high items are much more important than mediums, and mediums are much more important than lows. Now the question is, why do we do it in that way? Many customers have quite a broad range in their cost prices, from cheap few cent items like nuts and washers to expensive items, maybe a gearbox or an engine that costs a few hundred to a few $1,000s each. You can see that if we were to only manage on value, only analyze on value, those little nuts and washers, although they sell well, would be dominated by a slow-moving gearbox that sells for $1,000 or $2,000. And as a result, those washers would end up in your low C category. So they don't get the appropriate level of importance. So by analyzing on quantity, those nuts and washers will get their appropriate level of importance. And so what you end up with is a 3x3 matrix where the items in the top, represented by the box in the top right-hand corner, these represent your bread and butter items, the ones that you absolutely cannot afford to stock out of. They generate the most amount of revenue, margins, etc. So let's make sure that those items are always available. On the opposite end of the scale, down here in the bottom left, we've got slow-moving products, and we can see that by the C category and the low quantity movement. So we've got a lot of slow-moving inventory situated in this block. We may have items there for contractual reasons or strategic reasons, but other than that, maybe we should think about non-stocking these items because they don't contribute much to the business. So each block shows you the item count, the value of inventory, the average demand per month, and you can clearly see from those numbers how important the particular products are. And by clicking on this little icon in the top left-hand corner, I can very quickly get a listing of what those items are. So I've just opened up another tab here, and it very quickly displays what my A high items are. I can scroll down to the bottom of this report and get a listing sent out to an Excel spreadsheet if I want to do further analysis on it. So the information behind these blocks is very easy to get to. So now, with that matrix in mind, I go back to my list at the top here, and there you can see how the A represents the A, B, and C, the high represents the high, medium, and low, and the color gives me an idea of its position on the matrix. So when I'm managing this item or understanding why it's on the list, I can also see how important it is, so that that may dictate the kind of action or when I take action on this particular item. If I need to see additional items on this list, I simply click on Full Report, and again it displays a report very similar to what you saw earlier. There's again a simple report that I can export to Excel. Now to address the second question that Fadi mentioned on his slide, which is I need a system that now can generate the optimum order quantity. I don't want to go and spend a whole lot of time generating reports, updating spreadsheets, making potential errors, etc. I just want to be able to go and generate a quick listing of which items I need to order today by supplier. So to do that, I would simply go to my order tab. That gives me the option of reviewing an open order, something that an order I might have created this morning and I'm still reviewing it. Or if I go to new order, I can have a look, I can generate a new order on a supplier. So I'm just going to select the location where I do my ordering on external suppliers, in this case my central warehouse. And what that generates is a summary list of the suppliers that I need to order on today only. I don't need to see a full list of suppliers, just the suppliers that I need to order on today. It shows me, do I have any outstanding custom orders associated with these items? Do I have any open purchase orders and what the quantity and value of those total orders are for that supplier? And then under recommended orders, it's showing me the number of products that I need to order, the quantity and the value of that order. In addition, we can bring in volume and weight measurements if you have further constraints such as needing to fill containers or have certain weight constraints or volume constraints from suppliers. We can bring that in as well. So what the buyer may do is rank on value so that I see my highest order at the top of the list. That's the one I want to deal with first. $6.7 million I need to place today against 9 items or 9 product codes. So I would go across to the left, select the supplier, and click on Create Order. What this generates is our ordering schedule. It's a detailed list of those 9 items that I need to order on. And what we wanted to do here is present you a single screen that allows you to review the inputs to that order. I don't want to be able to bounce around between screens to see how much I've got on stock, what did I sell last year. I just want to see everything on one screen so I can review it and make a quick decision without spending too much time on this item. Because the order that I send to the customer must be the best that I can see, and I don't want to have to go and change this order once it's placed with the supplier. So I want to have an informed decision when I'm placing that order with the supplier. Now, the right half of the ordering report contains the inputs. So here we've got the product importance. There's my matrix with my status of the item. So that may influence whether I fly the product in or buy it from a competitor down the road. I've got my rules engine, which show me the parameters that feed that rules engine, so I can see my lead time in days and in units, my safety stock, my replenishment cycle, which is how much I buy at a time, my on-hand quantity, and I can click on the on-hand quantity to see where this product exists in other locations or warehouses in my company, as well as what the status is of that item. You know, for example, instead of buying product from a supplier, can I not go to Detroit and ask them to transfer their excess stock across to me, and so I can balance my network a little bit. I can hover over the order quantity. It brings up a little box showing me what I currently have on order with a supplier. And then finally, the forecast, a valuable input to the ordering decision. I need to know, you know, what do I think I'm going to sell on this item? So the blue represents the sales, the brown represents the forecast, and if I hover over the graph, a little table pops up with the numbers to give me a sense of scale of that forecast. The top row is meaning sales, middle row is forecast, and then the bottom row is the central warehouse demand. Because I mentioned earlier we've got a central warehouse set up here. This is the demand coming through from my branch locations. So I need to be aware of that demand when I'm placing the order on the supplier. And that's why you see 2 shades of forecast on the forecast graph. With that information reviewed, I can then move across to the left-hand side where it shows me the recommended order quantity, the unit per, the cost per unit, the total value of the order, and if I was to order it today, when would it arrive? Now, a last little piece about this is those supply constraints. In addition to minimum order quantities and order multiples that are considered in the ordering decision, there is also containers that I need to fill, or I need to meet a certain value or volume of order. So this little table at the bottom gives me a summary of this entire order schedule. 9 items, 38,000 units, $6.7 million in order value. Let's say I need to meet a minimum of 40,000 units as a supply constraint. If I'm going to overwrite what the system's recommending me to buy, and I have to increase that order, then let me rank on this classification so I get my fastest moving products at the top of the list as I've got right now, and I can see that by their position on the matrix. So then I can go across to my recommended order quantity and say instead of 364, I'm going to buy 1,000 of those, and you watch how my summary table updates as I click off that sheet. So it's keeping track of any changes that I'm making to my system. So I'm not quite there yet. So instead of 500, I'm going to order 1,000 of these. And now I meet my constraint of 40,000 units imposed by the supplier. So now I can go ahead and place these orders with the supplier. Now remember that this information is on the cloud, it's on your browser, so we need to transfer this information back down to your system so that we can import those purchase orders automatically and have them available in your ERP system. And then and we use this little download button at the bottom left here to do that task. And then so once you re-extract the information tonight, these purchase orders that you place today will be in that extraction and included in the replenishment decision that we make again tomorrow. And so the circle and the flow of information is completed on a day-to-day basis. So that finishes off explaining the two main reasons for what the system was designed. We've looked at the dashboard for what needs our attention, and we've looked at how quickly it was to create the order schedule and place orders on the product. With a few extra minutes, I just want to go through one or two extra features, and that's how do we change a forecast on an item. So if I take this item, for example, wherever there is an item code, I can click on the item code and it will drill into the stock inquiry page, which I could also have done by just scrolling to the top of the page and selecting the stock inquiry tab. This is very similar to your item maintenance screen that you would see in Sage 100, for example. It has all the information regarding relating to inventory management and replenishment, and it's your go-to screen to answer the question, for example, why is the item on my dashboard? You know, remember we looked at the dashboard, we've got those lists of items. I want to know why is this item on that list so I can take the appropriate action. This screen helps me answer that question. On the left, I've got some details about the product, cost pricing, weights, volumes, stock on hand, any ordering constraints in terms of minimum order quantities, there are none in this case, my position on the matrix, supplier information, and we can put product line and grouping information below that as well. On the right, I've got my forecasting information as you saw on the ordering schedule. Here's the algorithm that was selected that was the best fit for this forecasting engine. And just to add to that, the engine uses about 15 different algorithms which pick up seasonal increasing or decreasing trends as well as outliers that will be normalized if they don't repeat themselves. And then it uses an expert method to automatically select which is the best fitting algorithm for this item. And in this case, it found a linear trend with seasonality. Below that, we've got the parameters that feed the rules engine that determine how much safety stock we should hold on every product. Remember, every product has its own risk profile. We don't know what the customer is going to buy from us, and we don't know when the supplier is actually going to deliver. We don't have control over that. So every item has its own risk, and it therefore calculates safety stock per item, per location. We take that information into the center panel where it explains how the min and max levels are calculated. So we look at the consumption in the lead time in terms of days as well as units. We add to that the level of safety stock we want the item to be at when the order arrives. That gives us our minimum level. We add to that the replenishment cycle, which is how much we buy when we decide to buy, and that gives us our order up to level. So you're seeing that the min and max levels are being calculated on a daily basis per item across all my locations. So that whole task of having to update min-max levels falls away with this system. We compare that to our current stocking situation to give us our recommended order, and from that then determines what kind of status we're in on this product. Quickly moving down to the bottom of the screen, here I can see my forecasting information. I'm on my forecasting tab. There's my sales history. Here I can see my forecast information, the graphical representation of that. You'll notice that beside each item is a little snowflake that indicates that that month has been frozen by a user. A user has gone in there and made an adjustment to the forecast. But let's say I want to make a further adjustment. I would just click on Mend Forecast. Brings up a similar looking screen where I can see my sales history, the computer-generated forecast, and this is where I would then enter my changes. So instead of 143, I'm going to sell at 143. You see the graph changes straight away. I can make changes to multiple months at once. So I highlight those first 7 months. I can type in a 70 here to put 70 across the board. Or if I want to preserve the profile that the algorithm came up with, the seasonal profile, I can use this little sliding scale to increase or decrease everything by a set percentage. And so it preserves the profile for me. Very quick, within a matter of 10, 20 seconds, I can make an adjustment to a forecast. It bounces back to the stock inquiry page. The forecasts are updated, and so are these min-max levels updated immediately based on that new forecast that I've entered. One other piece that I just want to mention before we open up to questions is the bill of material. So I just want to scroll back to the dashboard and select an item that I know I have a bill of material on without spending too much time looking for one. So I've gone back to my stock inquiry page. Oops, I think I picked the wrong location. There we go. Okay. Now, there are a couple of extra tabs that you saw above the forecasting. You know, we bring in your purchase orders, we measure your supplier performance, we look at custom orders, and then we've got a bill of material tab. So you download your bill of materials, finished goods, raw materials, and the ratio of components to make that finished good, and we resolve that file into what you're seeing here. This is our bill of material way of displaying things. So we've got 3 finished goods that are used by this ST9501, which is the item I drilled into. And you can see the relationship as well as the ratio of each component going into that finished good. And we can handle multiple level bill of materials. While I'm on this item, I can also go to the table option and see what is the demand coming through from those finished good items and how much per month. I can also drill into the particular month to see when I'm supposed to be making that finished good. So with this information, I could generate a work order report for those finished goods. Now, I do just want to finally mention that this bill of material is a constraint-free bill of material, which means that we do not consider factory constraints or machine constraints or capacities. We consider the manufacturing lead time as well as the supplier lead time on the components to blow that demand at the finished good level down through the bill of material structure to calculate when and how much of the components we need to buy. So it works very well, gives us a great view on how to handle the bill of material, but that's its basic functionality. And I think that gives us a very good understanding of what the tool is. Hopefully you saw that it's very user-friendly, very friendly on the eye. With a few minutes, you'll find it's very intuitive. And with that, Patty, I would like to hand it back to you.
Thank you, Grant. If you can just make me presenter again, and I'll wrap it up. Appreciate that.
Change presenter, Freddy.
All right, great, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I took care of that, no problem.
Okay. So there you go. Oops. Sorry about that. Just 1 second. Okay, there you go. So everybody can see now. So thank you, Grant, and thanks, Les, for this great knowledge that you just shared with us. This is very good. I hope this is something that you guys are starting to pique your interest. So with that, I wanted to touch briefly on the question that probably most of you have in mind, and which is related to the pricing. So I wanted to go over the pricing, which is a very simple pricing, if you will. First and foremost, the pricing is for unlimited users. So it's up to you however many people you want to give access to. So it's not based on user license per se. It's unlimited, and it's a monthly subscription fee. It is based, how do we calculate it? We calculate the amount of monthly payment based on how many SKUs by location you have. If you recall in Grant's demo, he showed there were some multiple locations where the customer has visibility to multiple warehouses. So let's say you have 2,000 SKUs, active SKUs. Let me make sure you understand that it's active versus non-active. So if you have 2,000 active SKUs and you say you have 2 warehouses you wanted visibility in, so simply what Sage Inventory Advisor will do is it will take those 2,000, multiply them by the 2 locations, and come up with a term that we call SKU, which is the SKU per location. And based on the amount of SKUs that you have, that's how your monthly subscription is determined. There's also, it starts at $299. So if you have anything up to 5,000 SKUs, you will be paying $299 a month. Also, at the same time, there's a setup fee, upfront fee, and that's just simply to turn on the solution and then go through some of the basic training. It does not include any other additional expenses, including what your business partner may have to incur based on your data and extra work that needs to be done before we can really determine that this is good to go. So, and that fee starts at $2,200. So you really, up front, you're looking at about $2,500 to start with, and then from there, you know, you can get going real quick. Now, on the implementation side, and you've heard, I know Les made the comment, and I also Grant clarified it, but I'd like to also clarify a little bit more, just from a timing perspective and how much it takes. And I know that, and Grant can substantiate that, we, as much as he liked to say that we've improved it tremendously, we've actually done a great job because we've gone as low as 30 minutes of turning on the system for somebody. But that's an unusual case. The customer had very clean data, they had everything ready to go. But we're very confident that this can take, you know, within hours or a day, and then you're up and running. So keep in mind that this is something that can really be done rather very quickly. This is not an ERP implementation project. Again, Les's situation was very different. He was one of the very first early adopter, and we really appreciate that. So he was willing to really roll up his sleeves and work with us on that. There's some training involved for you at your own pace. It's free for you, and it's available on Sage University. You can go on there. We do also have a wiki. So there's some items that are available for you to learn how to navigate, in addition to us showing you the ropes, showing you how to go about starting with it and using it at the initial phases. So that's really, in a nutshell, what we have. And in closing, I really want to talk about some of the benefits, reiterate those benefits, because I know Les talked about a couple of them, including his stock outs and his fill rate. But you can see that, and we've had this not just with Les, but with a lot of our customers, they've gone above and beyond these numbers. These are numbers that are very, or I should say rather conservative. We've had customers that exceeded those and went beyond them, but we're just very comfortable putting these numbers on there to show you that you can really reduce your stock out, you can reduce your working capital, or in other words, increase your cash flow, if you will. You can reduce your surplus stock, And again, hopefully that demo showed you in many ways how you can do it. And last but not least, you can reduce a lot of the time that you spend on manual tasks and manual calculation. So, and last but not least, why do we think this is a unique solution? We think it's a very unique solution. It's one of a kind in the marketplace because you can access it anywhere. Whether you're on a tablet, on your iPhone or smartphone, or your desktop or laptop, as long as you have a internet connection. It's a cloud-based, and it's mobile, so you can use it anywhere you want. You get instant value. As I said a little earlier, you're turned on in a matter of a day or hours in that, so you really get an instant value. Automatically, your data sinks in. You start seeing immediately your data and have visibility to what's going on with your inventory right away. So we think this is instant gratification. It gives you an instant health check. It tells you right away what you need to look at instantly. It's very easy to use. You saw it, and then, no better than Les's testimony that, it's so easy for him to use it. And I'm sure, and I bet Les hasn't even, explored all of the features, but he's very comfortable using it. And last but not least, it's an affordable solution. So really, we think for $299, and when you look at the benefits, the tangible benefit, this is not a software solution that just makes promises. This is something that delivers tangible results. We think $299 is a rather really fraction of the cost of what you get for the benefit. So with that, I'm just going to leave this here for you to write down in case you need questions. You can talk to Tom about whatever you need to do, any other assets that you need, any information. We'll be more than happy to get it to you. But please, take the time, look at it, talk to Tom, talk to your partner, talk internally and see if this is something that will help you. And with that, I'm just going to open it for questions and discussion. And thank you, Tom.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for doing such a nice job. I'm going to switch over for a quick second to plug next month's webinar.
Sure.
For some reason, I'm having trouble pulling that slide up, so bear with me here. But I just want to remind everybody to save the date for next month's webinar. We invite you to attend our Sage Fixed Assets webinar on September 19th at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 1:30 Central Time. Sage Fixed Assets delivers the most comprehensive fixed assets management solution available on the market today, with comprehensive depreciation calculations for financial and tax reporting, inventory tracking and reconciliation, construction and process management, and customized reports. You can effectively manage every step of the fixed assets life cycle from acquisition to disposal. So we want to make sure you keep that on your calendar for next month. As soon as this webinar is over, I'll be sending out an invitation so you can register for that webinar. So now why don't we go ahead and open it up to questions. I'll switch back to your slide. All right, so you've got the screen again.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look. Right now, we do not have any questions. So why don't we give it a minute, give people a chance to digest what they've just heard and see if we have any questions. All right, you guys must have done a really good job. Everybody's got all the answers they need. I realize that, it's a lot of material and it's a new offering. If you do have any questions after the webinar is over, please feel free to email us at sales@dm2.com, and we can follow up with you individually and answer any questions you might have there. Still no questions at this point.
I have a question. Let me ask Les, so just we can have a little chat and conversation since we have some time. Les, I know you mentioned something about how easy it is for you to use. Was I correct stating that you still really haven't explored 100% of the system itself, and if you can just a little bit elaborate on that?
No, we have not done all the extent, even of what some of what Grant was showing, and it's probably due to the fact that when you bring it in, we were trying to get some immediate utilization, and once you get to that point, you just learn kind of as you go. There's a whole lot of extra stuff there that you can get into that we really need to look at. We do a lot with the graphics. We do like that, and that's how we judge. And one of the things that you can do with this, we started everything that took snapshots from the day we went live, and we look at it every month, and that's one of our management critiques and judgings is how are we doing every month at our meetings. And that's a real plus because you can see what's going on. It's such an extensive package, really. Sometimes it's overwhelming in that you like to play with it, but work has to go on, so the play sometimes has to be pulled back a little bit.
And is it safe to assume that it wasn't really that difficult to learn and navigate?
And I would suggest, I've got an extensive IT background and such, and I would just make this comment that this was probably the easiest implementation I've ever done. And as Grant said, it's really much easier than it would have been when we did it if we hadn't been on an older version. But it was so easy to put in. It runs so seamlessly. It is very, very intuitive, and you can click and just run through each thing. And we would always go through, and I would take my Sage DM2, and I would be looking at that data and then comparing. And that's how we started this when we were analyzing it. And it's amazing, that the accuracy level that you can apply here, because it gives you such a good sense of confidence when we did start it that the data was correct and that it was correctly analyzing it for us. Yeah, it's just an easy package to use.
Was it worth your money?
It has paid for itself numerous times over.
Excellent.
In fact, gentlemen, if it was today doing it and starting it again, I would be very much in tune to doing it again.
Well, thank you.
Great. All right, still no questions from the audience, so why don't we go ahead and wrap things up. Before we do that, I just want to remind everybody today's webinar has been recorded. Once the recording is available, we'll post it along with a copy of today's PowerPoint presentation on our website and send you an email to let you know when they're available to be downloaded. Again, if you think of any questions after the webinar or would like to find out more about Sage Inventory Advisor, please feel free to email us at sales@dm2.com. I'd like to thank Sadie, Grant, and Les for doing such a nice job with today's presentation. So thank you, gentlemen. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's Sage Inventory Advisor webinar. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.